Hey guys, what is going on? Wally here, and I have a walkthrough video for you today on Golgoroth, the second boss in King's Fall. Now I'm going to walk you through basically our team strategy, and I'm just going to have everything up on screen, and I'm going to give you a commentary going through on our thought process. So we went into this fight knowing that up on the top of the screen there you see that nice little circular ball of disgustingness. That is how you summon the boss in. However, there's going to be 6 of those in total surrounded in the room, 3 on the left, 3 on the right. Now, in the beginning of the fight, you have an ad phase. Ad phase is dictated by thralls and curse thralls, and then you have adepts and acolytes. Adepts and acolytes spawn on the left, top right, as you see them spawning in right now. And they generally have boomers, so we just say, hey, this is ad phase. Everyone just DPS down the ads, and then once we call it out, we move forward. You're going to see me kind of move forward here a little bit and almost choke. Don't do that. The totem in the middle is a death counter. Basically, it starts cumulative, so if I die, that's 1 point. Even if I get revived, we're still at 1 point. It goes to a maximum of 5. So if 5 people die, raid's over, he wipes. He has an enrage timer of about maybe 15 minutes, something like that. So the enrage timer is definitely very manageable. Now, myself and Poby are taunting, so if you've ever played World of Warcraft, we're just tanking. What I'm trying to do now is shoot his back to get his gaze upon me. There we go. Got his gaze. And now he's going to shoot these little purple balls at me. That's all it is. Super simple. Keep myself in a straight line of sight motion. And this is how I keep the taunt. Now, on the left there, you're going to see Gorgon's gaze. Starts at a 15-second timer. So myself and Poby are communicating right now. At around like 5 seconds, I started to let him know, like, hey, take the taunt, shoot him in the back. You have to shoot him in the back, get the crit for him to change his taunt. Now, what I'm doing is I'm moving to the immediate one to Poby's right to take down the next orb. And now I'm calling out to Poby, what's your timer, what's your timer? Poby's like, yo, got a little time here. And then Poby's going to do the exact same thing. So for this to make sense, the room, the way we started it, we started on L3, which is the furthest orb away, and then moved in a U-shaped motion to R3. So treat those little orbs in top as the U shape. You start on the top left, top right, your prerogative, and move across the room. Now, as you move across the room, this is how your team does mad DPS to Golgoroth. You simply don't have enough DPS possible to really get in there. I have to jump down and get into a DPS phase after this point. I should be doing it after one of these. I'm communicating with Poby to tell him to shift to my right now. But basically, this fight really is about tanks rotating and telling the rotation to the guys on the ground. So you're going to have 2 tanks up on top going back and forth between themselves and communicating with themselves. Like right now, I should jump down and get into the fight, but I don't do it for some reason. But I'll show you in one of the runs that is exactly what you want to do. And basically, after this phase, Poby's going to call out to the guys on the bottom saying, hey, my timer's at about 4 seconds, and they're all going to get the hell out of there. And now they won't get hit, and you go right back into phase 1, which is an ad phase. So to give you a rehash of how everything works, because obviously it looks a lot cleaner without breaking it up and slowing it down, is you start with an ad phase, relatively simple, it doesn't change. You kill thralls, you kill acolytes, you kill adepts on the top. Then once you're clear on all the ads, then you start the boss phase or boss damage phase, which is phase 2 of the fight. To get the boss to look at you, you have to shoot his back. You have to crit his back specifically. We started with L3 orb, the L3 orb on top left. And basically, as we're doing this, I'm telling Blunts and the rest of my team to go ahead and weaken the orb as I move into position. And this one's going to go a little bit smoother. You're going to have a good idea here. We're going to clean up the rest of the ads. We're going to kind of call it out and be like, hey, don't go down there just yet. We had a bit of trouble here where people would jump down ahead of time before the tanks called it out. You're going to see Devious go down there and unfortunately die. Don't do that. That sucks. Meagle's down there right now. There we go. Finally get his gaze. You have to crit him in his back. It's a little tricky to do looking at him. But as you can see, the L3 orb, the orb above me, is gone. They've already taken it out. Now, Poby is working on the L2 orb, the one to my direct right. And I'm calling out to him. I'm going to let him know, Poby, take the boss. He's shooting at the boss right now. He takes it. Gorgon shifts his gaze. And now I'm going to rotate over to Poby's right and start shooting at the orb. Now, the reason the tanks are going to shoot at the orbs because you have so much time to do this is so that you're going to help your DPS team so they can just shift. They don't have to worry about it. They can just be constantly DPSing the boss here and get as much DPS in as possible. Now I'm going to try to help Poby out a little bit right there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. You can outrun those little spawn orbs, but you do want to kill them. Do not let them kill you, because if they kill you, you lose the gaze and it's over. The raid will most likely end right there. But we hit the enrage timer on this one just barely. Our DPS was kind of shoddy the entire run. We did end up getting 2 Oryx last night. We understand the strat for Oryx. It's very challenging, I have to admit. I will have a video later today on how to drop Oryx. I'm very confident we're going to be able to do it. But I am going to recommend that if you're not 290 light plus going into this raid, don't even attempt it. Because a lot of these fights are DPS races, and if you're not geared and you don't have the damage, it's going to be very rough. Mechanic-wise, however, I will go ahead and say that this is relatively fun. It's an interesting mechanic. It feels very WoW-esque. And if you treat it as a normal mode and don't freak out that it's a new run, it becomes surprisingly easy because you really have to look at it. It's super easy. So yeah, you see for this fight, I come down in DPS. Now the reason I come down in DPS is because we're a little bit slow, but you want to be in that pool of reclaimed light while you're damaging. I'm hitting him for every single little fusion bullet there was hitting him for 3,000. Don't fire rockets at him. That doesn't seem to work. I was only hitting him for like 826 damage on those rockets. LMGs, fusion rifles, sniper rifles, shotguns, and primaries seem to be the most effective against him. Now I'm going to walk through the whole fight because I want you to see everything. And again, we go through about 3 ad phases and 3 boss DPS phases, but we do get super close to the enrage timer. And that probably has to do with the fact that we could be a little bit faster in this period right here. I mean, we're kind of just chilling right now, even though most of the ads are already down, or we're waiting for ads maybe a little bit longer than we should. And the third phase, once you get them to about 20%, you're going to skip acolytes. There's not going to be acolytes anymore. It's just going to become Taken. We didn't know that. So this is our like second time seeing Taken, and we're like, okay, where are all the acolytes at? So keep that in mind. If you get him past to maybe, he's at about like 30-40% right now. He's not going to spawn acolytes anymore. He's going to spawn a shit ton of Taken. And the Taken are relatively easy. Most of them are thralls. I think you may have 1 or 2 acolytes to deal with. I'm not sure. But they're super, super simple to kill. Just make sure you're communicating with your team. Like right here, I'm going to throw a super up at one of these. And as a Stormcaller, you can super the purple balls that he sends at you and adds on the floor in front of the DPS troop. And I think the biggest thing, though, is the DPS crew is unfortunately too worried about some of the thralls right there. And you may want to dedicate one of your guys in that group to just be dropping ads. That was a suggestion made by one of our players to say, hey, who's going to be dropping ads? And we're like, no one needs to do it. Everyone can kind of just shift and do it. From what I understand, though, on the tank group, the pool of reclaimed light does sort of nullify a lot of the thralls. The thralls will ignore you very well on the ground. As you can see, the Taken thralls really aren't going after the guys in the pool. So it sort of makes them invisible in a way to the boss and to the ads. So keep that in mind as you're going through it. Overall, it's not a super hard fight. I think that once you really understand the mechanics and kind of move through, no one's going to have a problem with this. So as you see, I'm trying to help the guys down here on the bottom as much as possible because I know they're struggling a little bit. And Devious, unfortunately, wasn't in the pool. You want to be in the pool or want to make sure you have the pool. And this is the final DPS phase. I'm going to hop down here to make sure that we get it. I'm going to shift and make sure I have that pool of reclaimed light bonus. I have it or don't yet have it. I'm looking for it. And that was the biggest thing. You really got to be standing on the pool to be doing the maximum DPS. I think, unfortunately, we missed it. But I think we actually do one more phase. And you'll see the enrage timer come up. So you can sneak forward in. You really can't, but you kind of can. You should be able to only do it in about 3 runs, depending on your team's DPS. But as you see at this point, it's all taken. So we're kind of just calling it out, being like, yo, let's just start the phase. We don't have time to fool around. I'm getting Poby in position. I'm telling the forward on the bottom to get ready. And I'll go ahead and start the fight. They got it weakened. Boom. This is probably the smoothest one we've done it. Right here, I got to manage a Taken thrall, unfortunately. These little balls are bouncing everywhere. You want to be mindful, again, if you're a tank, where you're standing, because those balls can bounce everywhere, and if they're not in a straight line for you, you're going to struggle a little bit because you got to go look left and right. But once you figure it out, I have a very good feeling that you guys are going to be able to do this no problem. I mean, this was our 4th attempt. So again, it's just understanding mechanics and moving forward. You got to be confident. You got to stay positive. That's the biggest thing. And you got to be very communicative with your group. I'd like to get another POV in it for this fight, what it looks like on the ground and what the rotations look like, maybe with some voiceovers of the team and solely with the team so that you guys get a good idea on how this fight works. But honestly, this is a great boss fight. This is very good mechanics. It's really easy when you really think about it. I know a lot of teams are struggling with it right now, but you just gotta get your rotations down. This is how we did it. Again, U-shape with the orbs. 2 tanks are just rotating with each other, like me and Poby. I'm gonna drop the next orb to his right, essentially, and there goes the boss right there. I'll let you guys see the loot screen. But that has been it for me. If you guys have any questions in the comment screen or want a more refined walkthrough, please let me know. But I appreciate you guys being in here very much. Hope you guys have a great day, and I wish you guys luck on this boss fight. Peace. What is going on, everybody? Wally back with another lore video. In today's video, it's a synopsis, not exactly a lore video. A little informal like the last one I did. And we're going to be talking about the Reef Wars, Skolas's part in the Reef Wars, and everything that sort of happened. Not everything, but a good portion of the events that happened during the Reef Wars.